The wrench keychain lay on the medbay floor. 4 centimeters of cheap human metal smeared with fluid that registered as Genethai blood. 14 guards filled the trauma ward. 1 human mechanic sat in observation, a sleeping child on his chest, while Dr. Osiri's compound eyes cycled through 7 focal lengths, trying to reconcile what she was seeing with anything in her clinical experience. She couldn't. A week ago, the most noteworthy thing about Declanire had been his punctuality. He filed shift reports on time. Every time. Osiri had observed this because she observed everything. That was what chief medical examiners did on stations the size of Karath 9, where 16 species shared corridors and the biological filing alone took 4 hours a day. Declan worked in the engine bay. Meera, his daughter, sat on a supply crate beside him most shifts, drawing on a maintenance stylus, while he rebuilt compression valves with hands that looked like they'd been assembled from scar tissue and engine grease. Osiri had once watched the child draw the station itself. Lopsided walls, crooked corridors, and a bright circle in the upper corner that she initially classified as a reactor diagram. It was a sun. The station was 7 light-years from the nearest star. Meera had drawn one anyway. His personnel file listed him as mechanic, grade 2. His biological profile, reviewed by Osiri during standard medical protocol, contained numbers she'd been trying to reconcile since his arrival. Bone density 4.2 times the Genethai average. Connective tissue tensile strength beyond their measurement scale. Resting heart rate so low it would indicate cardiac failure in any of the other 15 species on the station. She had flagged none of it. The numbers sat in his file like all human numbers, technically extraordinary, practically irrelevant. Humans were low status, non-combat. They fixed things. Osiri had started to believe that human grading systems were either broken or deliberately misleading. The station alarm hit at 2,214 hours. Detention block breach. Prisoners from the Kithral transfer, violent offenders with armored exoskeletons and sentencing records longer than Osiri's medical logs. Lockdown protocols activated, sealing corridors in sequence. Osiri pulled up the biometric monitoring suite from her office terminal, scanning vitals for anyone in the affected sections. Declan's readings spiked first, not climbed, spiked. Heart rate from 62 to 187 in under 2 seconds. Adrenaline concentrations flooding his bloodstream at levels she had only documented in patients actively dying. She reached for her emergency comm to dispatch a cardiac team. Then she stopped. His locomotive output was increasing, not collapsing. His body wasn't shutting down, it was spinning up like a generator fed too much fuel. Every failsafe was being deliberately overridden from inside his own neurochemistry. On the engine bay camera, Osiri watched him reach for Meera. The crate was empty. The maintenance corridor connected to the detention wing. The door had been open. Declan set his wrench on the workbench. Slowly, Osiri's secondary eyes tracked the motion. The way his fingers unfurled from the grip one at a time. The way he placed the wrench down with precision that belonged in a surgical theater. A man preventing himself from holding a weapon before he decided to become one. Then he turned toward the detention corridor. Walking. Osiri's compound eyes twitched. A body flooded with that volume of adrenaline, registering that heart rate. A burning through that much metabolic fuel should be running. Every biological model in her database said so. Every species she had studied across 22 years of xenomedicine confirmed it. He was walking, and in that steady, measured pace, Osiri recognized something her clinical vocabulary had no classification for. Something older than language, older than species. The gait of a creature that already knows it will reach what it's walking toward, and that nothing standing between will be standing long. Her data stylus had stopped moving. She didn't remember putting it down. The security footage played at standard speed first. Osiri's compound eyes locked all 11 focal points onto the corridor feed and tracked every moving body simultaneously, which was precisely the problem. At standard speed, she could not isolate what Declan was doing. The Kithral guards moved in recognizable patterns. Formation spacing, coordinated angles, the predictable geometry of trained security personnel responding to an unarmed intruder. Declan moved in no pattern her database could identify. She slowed the footage to quarter speed. Then she saw it. Every strike targeted the biological gap between armor plates, 2.3 centimeters of exposed tissue at each joint in a darkened corridor, at full speed, against opponents whose exoskeletons were rated for ballistic impact. His hands found those gaps the way they found engine faults by feel. The first guard fell in 7 seconds. He used the first body as a pivot for the second. His elbow dislocated a primary arm at the joint in emotion. Osiri had to freeze frame to confirm. 11 more guards stood between him and whoever had brought Meera into that corridor. 90 seconds of footage. Osiri watched it 4 times. His body took damage it should not have been able to absorb, a reinforced forearm across the ribs. Something cracked. The thermal overlay showed the fracture bloom. He did not slow. Human adrenaline was not simply a strength increase. Osiri now understood it rewired pain processing entirely, redirected blood from non-essential organs, and triggered a state where structural self-damage became acceptable. His skeleton was breaking, and his nervous system was signing off on it because the objective was behind those guards. The objective was 6 years old and missing a front tooth. 14 guards, 90 seconds, 3 cracked metacarpals, a torn rotator cuff, 2 fractured ribs. He reached Meera at the corridor's end. She was pressed against the wall, unharmed, eyes wide, frozen in the particular silence of a child who has not yet decided whether to scream or breathe. Osiri watched his hands, the same hands, begin to shake not from adrenaline, but from the transition between what he had been in that corridor and what he needed to be now. He knelt, found the wrench keychain on the floor beside her, picked it up like it was made of glass, and placed it in her palm. Sorry about the noise, baby. Daddy fixed it. And now, in her office, the medical report had been opened for the 4th time. Osiri stopped trying to write it. The Genothy species classification for humans read: low threat, non-combat, grade 2 labor. She highlighted the entry. Reaction time, 0.3 seconds. Genothy average, 1.7. Pain suppression, 94%. Genothy maximum, 31. Sustained combat output while structurally compromised, 90 seconds at peak. She typed a single annotation beneath the classification. Reclassify immediately. Then she closed the file and walked to the medbay. Declan sat in the observation chair. Meera was asleep on his chest, her breathing slow, one small hand curled around the wrench keychain, now clean. The Genothy blood wiped away. The cheap metal caught the medbay light the way something precious would. Osiri stood in the doorway without entering, her stylus idle. Still, her report remained unfinished. She watched a heart rate monitor blink 71 beats per minute over a man whose body was already quietly healing the damage it had agreed to take. Some data was not meant for clinical observation. She let them sleep. If a human's body can decide that its own bones are an acceptable price, what else have we been grading wrong? She would be here tomorrow wondering the same thing. Please follow my channel for more videos. One click from you can change my life.